I'm Laura Guest, and I'm Director of the Data Governance Program. I've been in this role for almost 7 years now, and that's the entire time I've been in OTDI. But I've been with the university for nearly 29 years. And prior to OTDI, I was director of a data and analytics team in the Office of Human Resources. Data governance is a framework of processes and tools for managing institutional data. In essence, it's all about decision rights about data and who has those rights so that we can have consistency across the institution. So I like to say that we are centrally located but functionally driven. So we provide the framework and kind of the guardrails, so to speak, but the business carries all the decision rights about data. So OTDI will have decision rights about data where it's the owner of that data, but the data governance program itself carries no decision rights. We just help facilitate the work of others. Data is a university asset, and it's a valuable asset. So it's really important that we have clear rules and guidelines and consistency across the university. The data governance program started under the Enterprise Project. So at that time, the program was limited to just the scope of the data within that project. And then our first action as a program was to define our program priorities and values. And we landed on values of trust and transparency as we met with stakeholders and particularly business owners. And trust and transparency are important because we want people to be able to find the data they need for their analytic purposes and understand what that data means in terms of definitions and other metadata about reports or data sets, but also be able to trust the data. They need to understand if the data is fit for their purpose or if it's for some reason not fit for that particular purpose or need. And then they need to be able to find other data that is appropriate for that use. In 2021, there was a major update of the institutional data policy, and that was critical to the data governance program. That policy update formalized the data governance program and created the Data Governance Council, which allowed the program to expand beyond the Enterprise Project. It also charged the Data Governance Council with determining how data classifications are assigned, the classifications of S1 public through S4 restricted. So now the Data Governance Program owns assigning those classifications to individual data elements. So we work heavily with the Medical Center on the data governance program. I mean, technically, we have one data governance program for the entire university, and that's what our team facilitates. But the Medical Center has some very specific things they're doing because of their specific needs. So they have some additional councils and committees that meet, but we make sure that our Data Governance Council has representation from the Medical Center, and then I serve as a representation on one of their data committees as well, so that we're making sure we stay in sync and are really promoting one program rather than two separate programs. Data fluency is important because people need to know how to appropriately handle and use data. So whether it's how do I read this report that I've been given and understand the various metrics or data points on it, or how do I treat data appropriately? Do I think about privacy? Do I think about ethics? Do I think about if I should do this analysis with the data? Not just can I, but should I? So let me tell you the classic data governance story. That's where some leader asks for the number of students you have and gets 4 different responses based on 4 different definitions of students, and that gets very frustrating and is very confusing. You spend more time questioning data than you do making decisions from data. So that's why it's important that for key terms we have approved definitions at the institution level so that people can use a term consistently, understand what that term means, and then just get on with using the data in the best way. The data governance program doesn't create those definitions. We work with the data stewards, with subject matter experts, and really anyone at the institution who wants to participate in those efforts can have their voice heard and have input on the definition before it's approved at the institution level. It's a very participatory process, and that's why people have been so happy with it so far.